Welcome in, everybody. Today's workshop, we do use the Q&A section, and I have Anita here with me. She is one of our customer care experts at Cricut. She is all-knowing, and you'll hear her pop in sometimes and give us a hand on our project. Now, so if you have any questions as we're moving through the project, please drop those in the Q&A. I will try and keep my eye on them when I'm in front of my monitor. Otherwise, Anita will answer your questions or pop those out to me if they're relevant to what we're working on. I thought first we'd go over the materials I pulled out to work on the project. And I have a couple extra materials that were not in the materials list, but don't worry, you don't have to have them. They're just kind of bonus little pieces. So if you have them in your stash and you want to grab them, you certainly can. So for today's class, our 12 days of card making, and I hope you guys have signed up for more than one class with Michael's, we're going to be making a snow globe card. So this snow globe card has a lot of different layers to it. But one thing that makes it really unique is this pocket in front of it. So you can write a note or even put a gift card in there and tuck that right into the pocket. So we're going to talk about how we make the pocket, how we make the card and everything, and we'll get a chance to make this together. So let's talk about the materials you need to make our little card today. I'm going to make sure he's in the shot. When you're working with a card in Design Space, you will need to use a scoring tool. Now, our Joy Extra machines and the Cricut Joy machines don't have a scoring tool. So when we get to that stage, I'm going to show you how to hide those layers, as well as how to manually add your scoring lines after you've cut everything. So if you're on a different machine, don't worry. We'll help walk you through that process. Your scoring stylus will look like this, and it's just a little tool that will go into clamp A in your Explore machine or your Maker machine, whichever one you have. If you're using a Maker machine, you can use the scoring wheel. And so I have the Maker 3, and I'm going to kind of talk us through using that tool if you have the Maker 3. Now, as far as the extra tools we need to make our card, I do have some glue, and I love this Zig two-way glue. It's kind of my go-to glue. But if you need something a little bit stronger, the Ultra Bond is a great adhesive to use. I have this little tiny one, and I also have the bigger tube, and I'll probably use the bigger one. I have a pair of tweezers on hand if you have those handy, or maybe just grab your weeding tool. If you want to write a message inside your card, you're going to want to have a Cricut pen that is compatible with your machine. Since we're using cardstock today, we will be using the LightGrip matte. The LightGrip matte is this light blue color, LightGrip, light blue. That's how when I started, that was my little tip to keep it together. The LightGrip matte has a little bit less stick to it, so your cardstock will come off very nicely on the LightGrip matte. If you don't have a LightGrip matte and you only have the standard grip, hopefully it maybe is an older one. If you have an older one, grab that one because it won't have as much adhesive on it to hold your cardstock in place. Now, as far as the paper goes, you can see we have a lot of different papers we use. So I have a couple different colors on hand. I use a light blue for my card, and then I used a gray for the front of my card. I have a white, which I actually don't have. I must have slipped it down somewhere, but we'll need to grab a white. And then for the inside of the snow globe, you'll definitely want a brown for the base of the snow globe right here, but you can make your gnome any color. So I did mine red, green, and then black for the little shoes. But again, you can, make it any color you want to. I do have this pack in my stash. I picked this up a couple weeks ago at Michael's. It's a shimmer pack of cardstock, so it's really kind of cool. If you didn't have the glitter, you could use the shimmer. So I do have Cricut's glitter cardstock handy. And that comes in, I'm sorry, not cardstock, the glitter cardstock like this. And we can use the white or the gold or the silver, whatever you'd like to use. I'm just gonna set that kind of behind me. And then I also have, this is the extra piece that you may not have handy. I have Cricut's acetate sheets. Now they come in a clear acetate sheet as well as lots of different designs, but I pulled out the pinstripe foil acetate, and that's what I used on my card here to kind of get the little shimmer on there. So I'm going to show you how to cut the acetate. If you don't have a piece of acetate, don't worry, your card is still going to be adorable. But I do have that handy just in case you wanted to later even add a thick piece like a chipboard piece and make it into a shaker snow globe. So we'll go over that at the end. Now, you don't need to have Cricut access to make the project today. All the images we'll be using are free. The project is under my portfolio or my profile picture, so I'll share a link to that in just a minute. You do need to have a Cricut machine and design space. So you'll definitely want to have those handy, your Cricut machine, your design space installed on your desktop or a mobile device. And again, you don't have to have a Cricut Access subscription because all of the images are free. But if you have the Cricut Access subscription, then it'll allow you to kind of change things up if you want to down the line. All right, so those are all the supplies that you're going to need today. I will be using the front-facing camera as well as I have an overhead camera I'll pull over at some point. And when I'm in design space, I'll have another camera. Now, if you are looking at our little gnome here and thinking, oh, that's a lot of little pieces to pull together, I'm going to show you a trick I use when I piece something back together. So you'll notice I have a little map to put my pieces back together. So what we'll do is we'll go into design space first, find the project, bring it onto your desktop, laptop, mobile device, and begin cutting. Once everything is cut, we'll do the assembly. We may work on our gnome as it's cutting. Just because sometimes that's a little bit easier. So I'm going to step over in front of my computer. It's just 2 steps over. And I'll switch over here. Let me go right here. Okay. All right, so here we are. Now I'm going to just share my screen and I'll take us into design space. So when you come into design space, oops, let me find it. Okay. I just want to get us on the home screen. So my screen will mirror what you see when you come into design space. Here we go. All right. So when you come into design space, you'll find that you have lots of different ideas of inspiration, things you can work on. For today's project, we need to find the specific project we're working on. Now, we will share that project in the chat, so you can click on that link. It will open up a web browser and you can open the project from there. If you want to open the project from design space, all you need to do is open your design space. Up here is the keyword search. So I'm going to have you search for my profile because I've saved the project under my profile. So just type in my name, and my name is spelled Kesley, and my last name's really easy. I was lucky. It's Anderson, Anderson, but my first name is spelled Kesley. And then you just hit enter. And what will pop up is you'll see images that maybe have the Anderson last name, projects that have been either created by me or by other people. And then some of my projects will pop up here. This is the Kesley Anderson we're looking for. It's I'm wearing like a pink, purpley kind of groovy shirt there. And when you click onto my profile, the project is right here. It's called Snow Globe Card. So you just click on that project and you say customize or make it edit a copy, I think is what yours will say. And you click on that and it will open up your canvas. So I'm going to go back and do that one more time in case you're still getting your design space open or something like that. Another way you could search for the project is to do a keyword search for snow globe card. And a lot of other projects pop up. So it may not be up yet in the view all. So I do think the easiest way is either following the link we've dropped in the chat or doing the keyword search for Kesley Anderson. And then just scrolling down your screen until you get to the community members here. And hopefully everyone in our workshop today is a community member and you guys are ready to share your project. And then once you're in my portfolio, you want to click on that snow globe card and hit customize. Now, before you hit customize or make a copy or edit a copy, go ahead. I always suggest to like the project so that you can always find it later, or click on the little bookmark here, which will bookmark the project for you and it'll be easier to find down the line. But hopefully everyone will make their own version of it today. All right, now everything is ready to cut. So I'm just going to go over the layers, and the layers panel here on the right side is the basic card. So the first layers are your basic cards, and that will be, I'm going to keep them grouped together, but you'll see there's 3 different layers in the layers panel. You have the front of the card, the actual card itself, and the blue card. Now, this dotted line on the card layer, this is the score line. So if you open this project using a Joy Extra or Cricut Joy, you won't be able to do the score line. If you have your design space set to either Cricut Joy or Joy Extra, you get these little red dots there that are like, hey, stop, we need something to fix. We need to fix something. And that's because you can't score. So you just hide that score line and then it should allow you to go ahead and cut it. Now, this is for the Joy, so it's a little bit big. So you just need to resize it down so that it is 4.5 inches wide. And you just resize the whole project so it becomes 4.5 inches wide. So let me go back to my Maker 3 so I don't mess myself up. Okay, so that's your basic card. And this is the piece that if you want to make this card over and over again, that these are the pieces you'll use along with the envelope here. Now the envelope, as you can see, these dotted lines, those are also the score lines. So again, if you're using the Joy or the Joy Extra, you need to hide those score lines. If you don't have a scoring tool and you're on an Explorer or Maker, you don't have to hide the lines. It will just do the motion, but nothing will happen. Now this other part here, so that's the first part. And then we have our second is the insert piece. So the insert piece is going to be all these layers that are stacked up here. It's the pocket piece, it's the little gnome and the part that tucks into the pocket, as well as the base of the snow globe and some mountains to kind of go behind the gnome. So those are all together. I have those all grouped together. So if down the line you're like, you know what, I don't really want to do the gnome, I just want to make this with a gift card, you can hide that gnome layer and hide the gnome placement layer. And then you can just add a little gift card or make your own card to fit in there, anything like that. This gnome placement layer, this is my tricky piece that we're going to cut, and you can cut this out of a scrap piece of cardstock. This little piece here, we're going to use this to glue back our gnome once all the gnome pieces have been cut. And then right here, this black layer, this will be if you want to put a piece of acetate or clear vinyl or something in front of the middle layers to sort of create the snow globe effect, you'll want to cut this black layer out of acetate. If you don't have a piece of acetate, you can just hide this layer and just use that little eyeball there and hide it. And then that'll come back up for you. Okay. So that's the acetate layer. Jane is saying, I have the church, not the gnome. Jane, make sure you go, if you don't have the gnome design, use the link that was shared in the chat to pull up the design. There is the church design, and that's the design in the image. And at the end of the class, I'm going to show you how to find that one. But we're doing it a little bit simpler using this project here. You can still do the church one if you want to, but this is the project here. And if you need help, please do let us know. We'll get that link again posted for you. Okay, so those are all the different layers we're going to cut. Everything is ready to be cut. If you are on a Joy, you may run into troubles cutting the envelope because it is bigger. So you may just want to hide that layer, and then you could come back and hand cut an envelope, or maybe cut it into pieces. So that's that. Okay. So guys, I don't know if we have reactions set up on here, but if we do, you can give like a little thumbs up or a heart if you're ready to move on and start cutting. I do have extra layers in here that are hidden. So I would suggest you not click around on those. So, but we do need my little gnome. Let me get him back. There we go. We need the gnome. Now, if you do not have a pen to do the drawing, again, you can leave that step in and your machine will do the motion of doing the drawing, but without a pen in there, it won't draw. You can always go back to the layer and change that text if you want to, or if you don't want to put warm wishes, you can just hide that for right now. However you want to do it. So you have a lot of flexibility with this design. All right, so I'm ready to start cutting. I'm going to go to make it. And this will bring me to this prepare screen where all of my layers are on different mats. So and it will tell me if I have to score, if it's a scoring layer or a basic cut, or a pen, if I'm using a pen, and we'll go through all the different layers here. There's 13 layers to cut. So I know that that's a lot. That's kind of why I have us just jumping into the cutting of the layers. So the first layer we'll cut will be the envelope and the card. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the continue button. So it will start, it'll go to my, I probably should have, sorry guys, let me go back in and share my screen so I can show you how I select my materials. So I'm going to, am I not on? Oops, my little Maker 3 is not on. There we go. Get him going. How many of you name your machines? Like, I know people who give their different machines names. I should probably call this like Melvin the Maker or something like that. I haven't done it yet. Okay, so once I'm connected, I'll be using a medium cardstock, a medium weight cardstock. That's about 80 pounds. If your paper is a little bit lighter, you can use a 65-pound weight to make your cuts. So either you'll probably use the medium cardstock or the lightweight cardstock. And all we have to do is start cutting it. So I choose the medium cardstock, and then I click this little icon here. It says, remember my material settings. What that does is it puts your material on your, it like remembers your material setting. So every time you advance to the next mat, it remembers that material setting. So if you're cutting the acetate mat, then we'll need to come back and change the material for that. So I'll show you how we do that. But for right now, I'm going to remember my material settings. Now, if you're on a Maker 3 and you don't have a stylus tool, you can click on Edit Tools and choose, don't have a scoring wheel, you can choose the scoring stylus instead of the scoring wheel, and then you just click apply. And that changes it, so it puts the scoring stylus on and the fine point blade, and we're ready to go. I will do the scoring wheel when we do the card, so you guys can kind of see how that works. All right, so let's come back. Let's go back over here. So to get my paper started, my first is the envelope, and I need to put my scoring stylus in the clamp A. So I just open the door and I put my scoring stylus in there. It just clicks in, and then I close the door like that, and it'll be ready to go. And for my envelope, now you could use a decorative, I'm gonna have to find that later. You can use a decorative cardstock for your envelope. I'll probably just use that light gray color, and so that it'll go through, you know, the mail nicely. Now I just wanted to grab my LightGrip mat, and I take my plastic piece off. Always save your plastic piece so that you can keep your mat nice and clean. And then I just line my paper up here in the upper corner, and I go down. And if you're not cutting tonight, don't worry, this class is being recorded, and you'll get the recording, so you can always go back and watch it and cut later when you're, you know, when you want to, but at least you can see how everything's going to go together. Now you can use a brayer or your wedge, and just, you want to go over your paper, or your hand too. You want to go over your paper and make sure that your paper is going to stay on your mat and not slide around. Once it's ready, I'm just going to put it underneath the two white notches, hold it into place, and then it's going to get sucked in and be ready to cut. I usually use my little brayer tool, but I think in my cleanup process, I cleaned it up. So the stylus lines will mark first, and then my fine point blade will cut the envelope. Now I do have a little dish here that I keep handy, and as pieces are cut, I'll put them in the dish. As I work my way through the project tonight, I'll put my pieces in the dish so that I don't lose anything. So if you have a little spot handy, you can do that. I'll just put that right there, and as we work our way through, I can put everything in the dish, because I'm going to move it over here, so it'll be a little bit out of the way ish. All right. And if you have questions as we're going through the cutting process, please do feel free to ask those questions. This is a great opportunity. You've got Anita here to answer your questions, and I can answer your questions. Before I keep talking, once your mat kicks out, always turn your mat over, especially when you're working with paper. If you just peel the paper off the mat, let me show you what happens. So if I just grab a little corner of my paper and I just peel it off, first of all, it could rip, but it will curl on you. Even if you're careful, it will curl. So what you want to do is actually take your mat, flip your mat over so your paper is down in your work surface. Start to peel it off and separate the mat from the cardstock in the upside down position. And then we can just set that envelope aside until we're ready to start assembly. You don't have to have Cricut access to make this project. So I see somebody's asking that question. Do you have to have Cricut access? You do not have to have Cricut access to make this project. All of the images are free. They're set to free, so everybody can make this project, and they'll be free for the whole 12 days of Christmas card making. So you can make it all those times, as many times as you want. You do need to have design space to make the project, but you do not have to have Cricut access. You know, the monthly Cricut access is a monthly subscription that gives you access, almost unlimited access to Cricut's digital content library. There are over, I think, 400,000 images now in the digital library. And with Cricut Access, you also, there's certain content like Marvel, Hello Kitty, Sesame Street, Star Wars. That is, I can't think of the name of what kind of content that is, but that content you purchase as you go. So that's like the a la carte version. And if you didn't want to do the monthly access and if you didn't want to do the monthly subscription, but you see an image in Cricut Access that you like, and you want to purchase just that one image to use, you can certainly do that. And then you have that image now becomes part of your library, and you can cut it as many times as you want. As long as you have your design space, you can cut from there. So I hope that answers that question. Okay, so this layer that just cut out, this is our top layer. If your snowflake gets chewed up or anything like that, what I like to do when I cut something intricate like that is usually check my blade and make sure it's nice and clean. So if your snowflake tends to get chewed up a little bit, make sure your blade is clean. And I hope I can get this put in right upside down. And make sure your mat is clean. If you have little paper debris on your mat, that can catch your blade. And so it doesn't come as clean as you would expect it to. So again, I just turn my mat over and I take off my pieces, and I'm going to actually keep the little snowflakes here that we can work on later. Pieces I don't need, I'm just going to kind of get rid of those pieces. I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to use these snowflakes, but they're kind of cute. So we'll keep those over there. Okay, so those pop off there. Now, if you're working with smaller pieces, I do tend to like to trim them down a little bit so I don't have as much on my board to work with. So my white, I don't know what happened to my white piece. So I would take like this piece here. Let's see, my white is 6 inches long. So I could take this piece and trim it down. So this is where your paper trimmer comes in handy. I'll just trim this down to 6 inches here and then put just that bit onto my mat like that. And then I can cut just that 6 inch. So it's a little bit easier to pull it off. Now this is the white is your layer that will have the pen, the warm wishes on there. So you just uncap your pen, you put it into clamp A, give it just a light push, and we're just going to start cutting that one. And so the first thing it will do is it will draw the warm wishes, and then it will cut everything out from there. While that is cutting, I can begin cutting down some of my other pieces so that I don't have such big pieces to work with. It makes it a little easier to cut it off the mat. Let's see. So I'm going to use a little bit of a darker gray to cut my beard on my little gnome. If you have a darker gray, you can use that. If you don't have a darker gray, you can just use the light gray that we used on the front piece. And then we'll do, you just need a little bit of black for your boots. So we'll just cut that down to probably just need a 1 inch strip. And I'll just do a little 2 inches by 3 inches for my little boots. And then the, let's see, what's the next color? After that one, okay, now we're gonna do our cutting. So for your gnome itself, we just need, a little bit of the green and a little bit of the red. So I would say like a 4 inch by 4 inch piece would be more than enough. But it's smaller, so it's easier to put on your mat. And if you're an experienced Cricut user, feel free to combine your colors onto one mat and cut them as, so your mat only has to go through one time. That's about right. Yeah, about. So I'm doing a little 4 inch by 4 inch square. There's another glue. Okay, so this turned out super cute. I've got my mountain and the warm wishes. This will be the back piece of our card, our insert. So we're just gonna pull that right off. Oops. Okay, so now these two pieces I can put on my tray. Keep building up in my tray there. All right, now my next layer is the beard. So that's just that little piece of gray. I only need a little smidge of that. So put that right up here. And then we'll put that through. Now, my next piece for me is the acetate layer. The next one is that black layer, which is the acetate. And again, if you don't have acetate, don't worry about using it. You can just, if you have a little piece of clear plastic, sometimes I even will use plastic from packaging. I'll be like, oh, I'll save that and use that. The Cricut acetate does have a plastic that has a plastic coating on it that you need to remove. So in order to remove that plastic piece, a lot of times I just take my scoring, my weeding tool, and I put that in on the dull side here, and I'm able to grab just that plastic and separate that from my my foil. Okay, so you just want to pull that off. And if you're just working with a small piece of it, you don't need to pull it off the whole sheet. You can just pull it off as you're working with it. So I probably took off a little bit more than I needed to. And then you want to leave the foil side up on your acetate. And I'm just going to cut this down to 6 inches by 6 inches. And I'll put that onto my mat. Now from here, I do need to change my material setting. So on my materials, I just need to come in and let me show you how to do that. I'll share my screen again so you guys can see. So I set it to remember that I was using medium cardstock, but now I'm just going to change that to acetate. So I do browse all materials and I do a search for acetate. And there's my little foil acetate right there. I'm going to select that. If you're not using foil acetate, you could just use regular acetate and just choose that. Or if you don't have acetate, you can just skip this step. Okay, so we're just going to put that in and give that a cut. All right, so this is done. I kind of have to push my pieces aside a little bit as I go along so I don't get too much extra here. Now, you will want to have like a little piece of like a little piece of color for the nose and the hands of your little elf there, your gnome. And I'm going to cut this down a little bit, 5 inches of this one, my brown. And then my card itself, I can cut this piece down about 6 inches. For the outside of the card, maybe I'll go 7 inches for that, just to make sure I have enough extra space. Okay, so now once all that's selected, and then there is an extra layer that is the snowflakes, and for that layer, that's where you may want to use that glitter cardstock. So again, we're going to turn it over and just remove the paper and the acetate from the mat. And now that's cut out and that goes in there. Okay, lots of cutting tonight. So my little boots are next. I just need a little trim of black for the boots. Put those on. A lot of times I will, if we have time at the end of the workshop, I'll show you how you can move your material around from mat to mat, so that you can actually do a bunch of them, like make a gang on your mat. And I could have done like a bunch of them together. So you're only putting your mat in one time versus 4 or 5 times. Let's grab some of this glitter cardstock. So yummy. Should I do a white? Let's see. I have white and silver. Maybe I'll do silver. Silver's so pretty. And again, I will cut my my glitter cardstock down so I don't have too much on my mat at one time. We'll just kind of cut that down a little bit. Make it a little easier on our mat here. So if you're cutting along with me, you should be, your shoes should be done. Now we're gonna really wanna make sure we keep these little pieces and not lose them. So sometimes I will like discard the piece and then grab my shoes right off. And I have a smaller container for those guys. So my shoes, my little elf parts are gonna go in that container there. I gotta stop doing that and putting that down. Okay, so from here, now I'm on my red, which is my elf outfit. So I have my red and then I have the hand and nose. Pop that in. Are we getting some, Anita, are there any questions that are coming through that would be good to answer live? Take that as a no. All right. Did I do it? Nope, gotta get that one. Here we go. Yes, if you guys have so can we unmute Anita so she can ask questions? There we go.
So one thing that I was going to add, what I like to do to keep all my little pieces, I have mats that are sticky but not sticky enough to cut. And so I will use those mats as my landing for any small pieces that I cut.
Right.
That way, if someone walks by or opens the door or a wind gust goes by, you're not going to lose them. So that was one suggestion I did have. Most of the questions are, can you use laminate paper as the window? Yes, you can.
That's a great idea.
And
can you explain how you would do that?
Yeah, so laminate, if you're doing the laminate sheets that don't have the stick, there's laminate sheets that you use with heat to get it to stick, and then you would just cut it out like you did the acetate page, or if they're stuck together. You can also do, instead of doing cardstock for the snowflakes, a great idea would be to use the adhesive vinyl.
Yes, yeah. A lot of people do like to use vinyl when they're doing card making for like little pieces.
I do for letters because I hate gluing them.
Yeah, so it makes it easier. Now, when you do that, what do you use as like your transfer? How do you transfer it from the vinyl to the cardstock?
So for me, usually if it's words, I will take the transfer and make sure I'm using one that I've used a lot. So it's not super sticky, but it's sticky enough to get the vinyl stuck to it. And then it's easier to let go and it'll transfer easier.
So you'll use a piece of transfer tape that you've already that's a little bit reused. So that's a great tip too, is a lot of people don't know that you can reuse your vinyl transfer tape.
Yes.
I would love to share that tip. All right.
And if you're in a pinch, you can use the painter's tape also.
Yes. Now I have not had that much success with that. I'll be honest with you.
It depends on your painter's tape. It really
I think
does.
mine was too sticky, to be honest.
Yeah. And it's kind of like with the new mat. If I open a green mat and I know I'm going to use something a little more fragile, I will hug it to a t-shirt a few times just to get the edge off the stick, and then I'm able to use it.
Yeah, that's a good. So I switched out my fine point blade for my scoring wheel on the maker. And now I'm just putting back my fine point blade and I'll put my scoring wheel back in the container. The scoring wheel on the fine point blade, on the maker, uses the quick swap tool. So there's a button on the top and you just push that and you can change out different tools. So like you can use the perforation tool is a quick swap tool if you wanted to do some perforation lines and things like that. I was using the perforation tool the other day on a card. So it's a fun little tool.
Would press and seal work for transfer paper? Okay, so press and seal woodwork. I've never thought of that before.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. So make
I'm
sure,
not sure how much stick it would have. It'd be very light stick.
yeah, which would be good on if you're working with cardstock, you kind of would want that.
Right, because you don't want it to tear up that top layer of the cardstock.
Right. So we're moving right along here. I
For
think my next,
oh, sorry. I was
oh
going to
no,
say
I'm
for
just,
snowflakes, you don't need transfer tape. You can just pick them up and put them where you want them.
oh yeah. Okay, so my next one is my little, is my gnome. I'm gonna use the brown here, is the gnome outline. So if you're, want that little trick, this is a good one. This layer, you definitely want to make sure you cut this layer. And if you, well, yeah, we're ready to, because what we'll do, why don't I go ahead, after I get this layer cut, I'll show, actually, do we want to go to the, can I switch to my overhead camera? And then I can show how to do that. Okay, let's get this guy going. Oops. So let me pull this one over. This one you guys will see, at the, see, okay, I don't know if we need to have both of them. Nicole, you can feel free to change it up, what we need. All right, so here is, here's our work table. Now, this is the insert card piece that we cut, and it's got the text on there. This is the little piece that's cutting now. This is my template. So when I put this piece, which this is just cute as it is, but when I use this little template piece, what I'm going to do is in these little holes here, like where the boots would go, or it's the belly piece, or his beard, all those kinds of things. I'll leave my template on my piece here so that I can easily add the adhesive into those holes. I dropped my adhesive, so let me go around and get that, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, sorry about that. Now, another little tip I'll share with you guys is I use these Wonder Clips quite frequently in my crafting. So if you want to make sure it stays together and stays pieced where you want it, you can just kind of give it a little clip there and it'll stay together for you and it won't move. All right, let me get our next cut going. So here we go. All those little pieces are going to come right off there, but we don't need those pieces. So those little pieces this time we don't need to save those, but you want to save your little template there. Okay, let me just check my next color. So we'll keep cutting while we're doing the assembly. Okay, so my next one is my card, which is this blue piece here. We'll put that on the mat. I don't know if you guys do this at home when you're working, or if you do it all at one, like you cut everything and then you piece it together. I tend to do cut and assemble at the same time. I think sometimes just because I'm anxious to see how it all comes together. Okay, so I'll use my Zig 2-way glue here, and I can start in this bigger section where his beard is going to go. And I'll just take my 2-way glue here and I'll just put that right in there. And it goes like that. And then we'll grab the beard and drop that in. So he'll just go right there. Now with that little template, the way it is, it'll hold that in place. And then when I'm ready, I can just remove this carefully and I'll have his little beard in place, but everything else will line up. See how that goes? And then we have our little pieces that we can start working on his body. So I have like his shoes. Again, I'll use the Zig 2-way glue. One thing I love about the Zig 2-way glue is that as you use it, if you don't get it cut right away, sorry, I'm talking and cutting at the same time. I probably should, well, if I cut it ahead of time, then I don't know if I'm going too fast for everybody. So that's why I like to cut it with you. But I can just put these little shoes in there. Now, if you'll notice the liquid glue, when it goes down, it's blue. And if you glue, like if you're gluing bigger pieces, if you glue when blue, it's permanent. But if you're wanting a more temporary glue, you can glue when it's white, and that will give you a temporary hold. For these little tiny pieces, though, it does, it holds pretty much the whole time. Like it doesn't, it won't not hold when it's white, when you're working with little pieces like this. So we're gonna grab our scarf and put that in. And see how I'm just filling in those little holes? I have that way I know where my adhesive goes, and I know right where my piece is gonna go, and I don't have to eyeball it or guess where it's gonna go or anything like that. Just if I have it in the right direction. Okay, so go there, and then this little itty bitty piece, so teeny tiny. I do like to use the tweezers when I'm working on pieces like this. There we go. We'll just pop that in like that. Okay. Make sure. Okay. See how easy that's coming along? Let's see what our next layer of cutting is. Oops, gotta unload my mat here. All right, so our next layer is the green layer. More gnome fun, I guess, should say. Let's take that off. Now you'll notice I did leave my little gnome mess over there. I didn't wipe it off, and so I just am switching and using the other part of my mat so that I can cut on that side of my mat. So that little mess there, that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'll scrape that off in a minute. Don't want to lose those. Okay, so now we've got a little nose that needs to go in. A little dab of glue on there. The little nose will go in there. Those hands are so teeny tiny. Okay, so there's the nose. And then the hands. So I just do a little dab right there. See how I just use that template and it holds it like just makes it so much easier. Get your pieces in there right way, and everything will line up. That one. We got this little guy over here, his little teeny tiny hand. And this way, our little the little gnome here the glue can be drying while we're working on other parts of the card. Slide that one in there. So teeny tiny. Definitely want to have good lighting when you're working on this. All right, so there's that. And then I think my last layer to cut is the glitter cardstock. So again, I'm going to switch my materials, and I'm just going to do a search for materials, select materials, and I'll choose the glitter cardstock. Now with your maker, it'll cut with the fine point blade, but I think, and Anita, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think it'll go twice around the outline of the design is how it works for the glitter cardstock. Those little guys there. Okay, last piece going down, my glitter cardstock here. All right, and guys, we are doing great. Okay, yeah, my last piece is the glitter cardstock. I'm going to change my material setting to glitter cardstock. And to do it, I just browse the materials and I'll just browse for glitter. Sorry, I didn't transfer over this. Glitter cardstock, there we go. All right, so let's see. I don't remember 100% if it does go around twice or if it will just do one time. But again, with glitter cardstock, you want to make sure that your cardstock is definitely adhered down onto your mat. You don't want it to slip around on you. Okay, so now just back to gluing our little gnome. This is where I work as I go. So I kind of keeps my space a little bit cleaner too, I think. All right. Oops. 2 pieces there. So here we go. We're gonna just put this here. And if you use textured cardstock, if it has a texture on one side and it's smooth on the other side, it definitely does make it easier to put it back together, because your textured side will either always be up or always be down. So it'll go one way or the other for you. That's another little trick there. This goes in like this. There we go. I do like having the little template because the ridges definitely make it easier to slide those in if you need to use the ridge of the template to just pop it in. So you kind of just get it in the right spot and then you can just push it down. Yeah. And then our little arms. All right, and we have about 10 minutes left, so I think we're going right on track. I don't know if we'll have time for Q&A at the end. So if you do have questions, like I just want to make sure everybody who has a question, we get to it for you. There we go. Get and go. All right, so I'm going to set this aside and we'll let this start drying. But there's your little gnome. And he's all ready to go. So we're just gonna let that dry for a minute and then we'll start working on the assembly of our card. So I have my little my tray with all my pieces in it. I don't need that. This is the actual card itself. So when you fold it, you want to make sure that you're folding with the whole part on the left side and you'll fold it over on top. If you did not have a scoring wheel and you need to score your fold lines here, because you'll have a fold line here and here, what I like to do is I usually take my mat and flip my mat upside down. I can take some paper here and do the same thing. So I'll just take a little stack of paper and I'll put my card where I want the score line to go right on the stack of paper. Now, why do I need anything here? You just need a little teeny tiny variance of your work surface to the top of the card so that when you use you can use your weeding tool here and the back of your weeding tool, you can just run along the edge there and create a score line. If I did that without anything there, like if I just did it on the mat, nothing would happen. There wouldn't be anything to give it that distance for the score line. So you just need like something that's a little bit, not even too much, maybe just 1 or 2 cards would do it. And then you just run it along there and that will give you the score line. So now when you fold it, you can fold it along those score lines. Just like that. So this will be your card, the front of your card here, and this is going to be the inside of your card. Now we have our acetate. If you chose to do acetate, you want to go ahead and slide the acetate in now because we're going to put a piece on the front and a piece on the back. And if you don't have the acetate, don't worry about it. Like everything's still gonna look so pretty in your finished card. So I'm just doing a thin line close to the edge. Now the acetate is not as big. It doesn't go all the way around the circle. It will go inside the circle, but not all the way to the edge. And that's intentional. Because if it went all the way to the edge, it would be, it might be a little bit trickier to put down on your cardstock here, and it would be a little trickier to hide it. So when I put the next layer on this side, that will be my silver layer. It will hide this edge. So your acetate layer is a little bit inside of the actual snow globe layer, and that's intentional. We did it that, we planned it that way. Okay, so here we go here. And I'm just gonna remove this part here. Again, I'm turning it over and very carefully, I don't wanna pull up my snowflakes. So you can just twist your mat around if you need to. Make sure we don't get any snowflakes. No snowflakes should be harmed in the removing. I think I harmed a snowflake. Go back and go from a different angle here. Did I cut one little snowflake off? So just be gentle as you remove it. Okay. So this layer here of your snowflake will go on the inside layer right here. We can just pop that. It's going to go on the inside. I'm going to give that acetate layer a minute to dry. So we're going to set that one aside, and I'll leave that with the acetate layer right there. Can you guys see those? I don't want to like move it out of your way. Make sure everyone can still see it. Okay. Now this layer here, this is the interesting layer. So this is what we use to create this pocket. So on the inside, you'll have a little pocket here that your note can slip into. This piece is your pocket piece, and you should have a score line on each side and along the bottom. And what you'll do is you just fold those to the inside, all your three little score lines here to create your pocket. And that's what the slits on the brown and the white are. So we're going to actually put your little envelope piece here that we folded through the slits. So you can do it one of two ways. One is just go ahead and line up your snow globe base with the white mountains, and then you have your slits will line up. And this looks like Ursula to me. I don't know why, from Little Mermaid. So just take the base of your pocket and slide it into that slit. And you're gonna wanna take it all the way through to the back. So you'll have that coming through there. And then you'll do the same thing on each of the sides. Let me get my hands out of the way. So you just push that through and bring it onto the back. And same thing over here. You can just push it through and bring it onto the back. Like this. And you just pull that through. You want it to be flush with the front of it. So it'll be enough, you'll have enough of a space for it to be the pocket, but you do want to pull these all the way to the back, and then they'll fold over. And when you put this onto the card, these little pocket pieces will glue down. Now, if you're worried about it staying or not having enough, the glue being, needing extra glue, you can use a tape runner. You can also just grab some transparent tape and put that over the back like that, and that will hold it down, and then you don't have to worry, it could get pulled out or anything like that. Now, this is where I would probably use my bigger adhesive, the Ulta Bond, and just run that around the edge. Go like that. If you're worried that you got too much in there or anything like that, and you're worried it's gonna kind of ooze out, we can just go like this and make it a little bit thinner. Like that. Okay, and then just spread that around. That's gonna go right on your card. You just line that right up, and that will fall down. Now, you can always change the background. If you want to make this snow globe in the spring, you can change the background. Instead of having mountains, you might want to have little flowers or something like that. So you can always modify that layer as you go. I'm going to take my little clamps here, put my clamps on this to make sure this is going to stick down for me. And then I have the front. Now you can see my acetate layer didn't totally stick down, but that's okay, because when I put on my my glitter layer, it's gonna really hold down. So your little gray layer, this is our top layer here, and we'll do the same thing. You can just put your adhesive all around it. I think the rest of the assembly is a little bit self-explanatory here, but we'll put that around it. And we'll pop that right on, like that. So you have those little snowflakes peeking through. All right, and then last step, can you believe it? We're at the last step, is to add your snow globe here. I have a little bit of paper that didn't quite come off there. I'm just going to trim that down. And then I'm going to add my glitter layer to this. Now you could add your glitter layer to the front if you'd rather have the glitter on the front of your snow globe. You could add your glitter layer there, or you could add it to the inside layer on the back. You do want to be careful on that acetate layer that you don't, your acetate doesn't, the adhesive doesn't sneak underneath the acetate layer, because this True Bond does dry clear, so I love it for that, and you should be okay. But if you have a different adhesive that doesn't dry clear, it might not look as clean. So we're just going to put that right on there. And if you didn't have the acetate layer, that's okay too. Okay, so we'll just pop that right on there. And then I'll move my clips over to this side of my card. And then hold that down while that dries. Okay, so we're just going to set that aside. Last step is your envelope. And again, if you didn't have the scoring tool, you just want to make sure that you score those lines manually along the edges. And you can tell where you need to score. Like, so you just go there and you would score down that way. And here you'd score it that way. And thank you guys, everyone, for sticking around. I am sorry it went over just a smidge. I hope everyone's cutting away and getting everything all set up. So here's my bottom of my card. Again, I'm just going to grab my adhesive and just run that along the edge, just like that, and push that up. And then I can take my clamps and move those over. Now, when I mail this, just keep in mind that it might be an off shape, because it's a little bit, you know, it's like not your standard envelope size. So it may be a little bit of an off shape. So just keep that in mind. And you can either ask for it to be hand stamped, or you can ask for it to be hand stamped, or you can put it in like a little sleeve and have it, mail it that way, like in a clear sleeve. So I'm just going to let that dry. This little guy is mostly dry. The globe is still working. Oops, sorry. Let me just switch here. Okay. There we go. So there we are. Now, this class is being recorded. So if you have any questions, you can always refer back to it. I did miss a snowflake. I pulled one off by accident. So I would just glue that back on if you weren't careful, or maybe you would just recut it. And then let me show you the last little bit here. We're going to remove that template. So I just start at the bottom, and very carefully, I want to make sure all my little pieces stay down. So I'm just going to very carefully, should have done this with the overhead, very carefully withdraw this from the design. And if any piece pops up, it's very easy to put back down. You'll know right where it goes. And just, you might want to leave it overnight and let it dry. I lost a little sock here, but I can just pop that right back in the spot where it was. My adhesive is still there, and that will glue down. Oops, let me put a little glue. Stuck to my fingers. All right. Well, thank you all so much. I can't wait to see, you know what? Can I just have one more second, Nicole, and show everyone how to share their project so I can see what you made? This little guy will go right back in
Absolutely.
here.
Take your time.
Thank you. So he'll go right in there, and then you've got your little snow globe. And again, you can just change out that background for any occasion. Let me just, I'm just going to show in the design space. One last thing. So when you finish your project, I want to encourage everybody to save your project. So you just go up to this header bar and say save as. So you could save it as the snow globe card class. And you hit save. And what that will do is it will save a copy of the card to your profile. And then when you go into my stuff, it'll show you what you've worked on. So here's my snow globe card class. And you can add a picture to the project. And right down here, this arrow, this is the share button. So when you click that, you can share your image. Now, you do need to add a photo to share it out. So you just don't stress about taking the perfect photo or anything like that. You can literally just grab your phone and take a picture of it. In fact, what I find easiest to do, I'm going to grab my phone here. I don't think I need to go to the overhead anymore. But what I find easiest to do is to do it on my phone. So I'll take the picture with my phone, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I go into Design Space on my phone. I take the app in Design Space because, you know, it isn't always like the way you don't want to, you have to email the photo to yourself and then open it in Design Space on your desktop or laptop. But if you do it from your phone, you can just grab your project right on your phone, click on it and say, add a photo. I can add the photo I just took. It's not perfect. It's not like, you know, it's not staged or studio or anything like that. And then you just save it and share out your project. Now, when you do that, in my notifications, it'll say so-and-so shared a project using your card. Then I get to see what you made, and I get to like it, and I get to, you know, interact with you a little bit more in Design Space. So I want to encourage everyone to share your project. I want to see what you make. Maybe you change your known colors or change the background. I can't wait to see what you create. Thank you, Nicole. And thank you, Anita, for being with me tonight. Don't forget to remind everyone to grab their Cricut machines and get crafting. And I hope to see you in another 12 days of card making workshop. Thanks, everybody.